Alright, so, we get to explore this place again. Any memories? Oh, wait. Oh, yeah, this time we're upstairs. Wait, I can check out that one first. Anything else, though? I'll first check out Maddy's inbox. From Jeanette Annette. Spirit beacon leaking. Okay, so we're talking about mails here. Hi Madeline. This is Jeanette from the location down by the docks. I believe we met in person for the first time last month. I was opening up this morning and noticed that most of our spirit juice was gone. I checked the map and saw that you're the nearest location with a spirit beacon. I think you may have drained some of our supply. Honest mistake, I'm sure. But if you could stop running your spirit beacon during peak hours, that would be very much appreciated. Thanks, and looking forward to working with you in the future. Jeanette. Wait, from Oh, we got a response? Wait, we didn't respond. Oh, she gonna be pissed? Hi Madeline, hope you got my previous message. Just wanted to give an update on the spirit juice situation over here. I had several bottles I marked last night just to confirm the issue, and when I got in this morning the levels were below where I marked them. We're definitely losing spirit juice, and you're the only spirit beacon close enough to be affecting us. Please modulate your use to reasonable levels. I don't think this should be a problem as long as you're not running your beacon overnight. Again, not trying to assign blame here, but please be considerate to folks at other locations. Thanks, Jeanette. That sounded a bit passive-aggressive if I'm going to be honest, but yep. We didn't reply though. Ooh, another one. And I don't think we replied again. So what does she have to say this time? Madeline, we are draining spirit juice over here so fast that if I sit and watch, I can see it disappearing from the bottle. You're the only spirit beacon that is even remotely close to where we are, so we really need you to stop. If it's affecting us, then it's probably affecting other locations. This is completely unacceptable. Fix this now, Jeanette. That is just plain out aggressive. Okay, another one, huh? Hey Madeline, can you explain why you weren't at the terminal today when I showed up? I spoke with a girl named Ashley who said you decided to take the day off. What a coincidence! I was not impressed by the crying routine you had to do. Honestly, you should be ashamed of using a child's fake tears to try and hide from a situation that you caused. Oh, Ashley fake teared it? Damn. Turn off your beacon! I don't want to be the bad guy here, but if you don't do something, I'm going to have to get the council involved. Oh my god, that is a Karen. Oh my god, that is a freaking Karen. Jesus. Wait, Clarence Froome? Who the heck is Clarence Froome? Misplaced cutlery? Hi, Maddy. This is Clarence from the docks location. Just wanted to give you a heads up. This morning we found out that the site manager we recently hired, I believe you met Jeanette Jeanette? Oh, okay. Was leaving spirit juice in untempered glass bottles, and we had a bit of a leak. We ended up having a bit of a problem with some animated cutlery. So it was her issue. It was not on our end. It was her. Well, I guess she got fired. We have the situation under control over here, and I'm mostly sure everything is accounted for on our end. Unfortunately, this started happening about a week ago, which might be enough for something to wander off far enough that we wouldn't be able to detect it. Very likely that this happened, but just wanted to give you a heads up in case a possessed steak knife wandered off far enough to find your beacon and decides to pay you a visit. Wait, that could happen? We could just be stalked by a steak knife and killed in an alleyway by a steak knife? Oh, what? Sorry about the situation. Rest assured that the person responsible for this won't have any opportunities to mess up anything of this magnitude again. By the way, are you planning on going to M's birthday next month? M? Who is M? Regards, Clance. Oh, we answered from Maddy Zhao. So we definitely, we just ignored Jeanette, but we did respond to him. Hi, Clance. Sorry I missed your message earlier. I no longer use this address. Please use contact@terminalvelocity.org for anything related to terminal business. Hope you enjoyed M's birthday party. I don't remember why I couldn't attend, but I'm sure it was a good reason. Maddy. And that's the end of it. Okay. These little excerpts are kind of funny. But yeah. There is a reason why I actually upload them in a separate video, not in the main one. Oh, adversary roll, huh? Okay. Maddy was washing her hands when Ashley poked her head around the corner. You have to confess something or you have to ask for something, thought Maddy to herself as she dried her hands and turned to face the girl. The look on Ashley's face confirmed that it was the latter. Maddy arched an eyebrow and turned to the coffee grinder. Ashley stepped around the corner and stood close enough to Maddy to occupy her field of view. Every time Maddy turned, Ashley again repositioned herself. She was waiting for Maddy to notice her. After a minute, Maddy decided that having Ashley hovering around her was more distracting than indulging whatever it was she wanted to talk about. What do you need, Ashley? I don't need anything, said Ashley. Though now that you mention needing things, I think you might need something. Oh yeah, here we go. Such as an advisor! Ashley smiled triumphantly as she delivered the word. Uh-huh. What would I need an advisor for? To advise you, of course, said Ashley. And I suppose you have a suggestion for who I should take on as an advisor? Well, said Ashley, now that you mention it, I'm not too busy. I could be your advisor, because you're an expert on advising. That's what an advisor needs to know about. And what makes you an expert on advising? I've been learning a lot about advisors, said Ashley. They get to help make important decisions, and then the person they're advising has to take responsibility for them. She's just doing this because she doesn't want to take responsibility? I mean, she is only 13 years old, so she shouldn't be taking any responsibility here. That's why I'd make a good advisor. Because you don't want to take responsibility for your actions? I take responsibility for my advice, but if someone follows my advice, then that's their decision and their responsibility. Duh. I don't think I need an advisor, said Maddy. Oh, but you do, said Ashley. Aren't you always complaining about how busy you are? Yes, said Maddy. So busy that I don't have time to have extra counseling sessions with you. I'm not going to be your counselor, Maddy. I'm going to be your advisor. The difference being, a counselor counsels and an advisor advises. Oh, yeah, of course, yeah, it's in the word, isn't it? Yeah. Of course, said Maddy. She's so over it. Busy people always seem to have advisors, said Ashley. The prime ministers have advisors, presidents too. All the most important people have advisors. Their advisors tend to be more experienced than they are, said Maddy. Advice travels from those who have it to those who need it. Well, I'm doing fine, so I don't need advising, said Ashley. But you could do with some advising, and I'd be happy to give you all the advice I've got. Plus, you're more important than I am. You're kind of like the Prime Minister of the terminal, or the President of the terminal, or whatever. The kind of person who needs advisors. I see, said Maddy. So, am I hired? You already have a lot on your plate, I'm sure, said Maddy. Nope, said Ashley. Ashley. A lot on your plate. I see the pun here. Because look at what kind of plates are in front of us right here, Some plates who could use a lot of time, or somebody with a lot of time. They need a lot of attention. I've got lots of time free. In that case, you have time to wash these dishes for me, said Maddy, tossing a drying rag to Ashley. Yes! Got her! Let me know when you're done. Wait, said Ashley. I'm only free to advise. I'm physically fatigued from a long day of work. Only my mind has extra processing power. I can only help you with it by advising. Well, advising has physical responsibilities associated with it, right? Said Maddy. Like sometimes an advisor will go to places to get important information. I guess so, said Ashley. I can't do anything that relates to giving you information. In that case, advised Ashley, I need you to give me a report on which of these plates looks best when it's sparkling clean. But they're all dirty right now! Exactly. Time for you to do some investigative research. See ya! Derp. Okay, I'm at the end of this memory, I have to say. That's kind of funny. That was kind of funny. What else do we have here? Also, is there another... Oh, no, there's no other... That's just a roof. But this is a roof within a This is a building within a building? Because that is... Or is that open? Ah, no, it's gotta be open. It's no roof. No, there's no glass roof anymore. I was wrong. Oh! What is this? Delicate operation? What do we have here? Ashley stepped behind the counter and winced as the floor creaked under her feet. Maddy was nowhere to be seen, but Maddy did possess a remarkably sharp sense of hearing. Luckily the cafe was empty as Ashley tiptoed to the case where Maddy kept the baked goods. Oh, we're stealing some pastry or whatever, are we? Ashley lifted the glass lid of the case and closed her eyes as the scent of yesterday's lamingtons wafted up and overwhelmed her. By now we all know what a lamington is, right? We all know the recipe. Ashley had spent most of her life convinced that she didn't like coconuts, but that had changed the day that Che introduced her to lamingtons. To be fair, Ashley still wasn't sure that she actually liked coconut. Chocolate frosting could make anything taste good, but she couldn't deny the cake's irresistible allure. Ashley lifted the lamington from the case and gently set the lid back down. She raised the lamington to her lips and opened her mouth to take a bite. Ashley! Oh, was she busted? In a moment of panic, Ashley shoved the pastry into her mouth and sealed her lips. What? What? Her mouth was quickly overwhelmed by the pastry's thick frosting covering, and she did her best to choke it down before turning to face Maddy. Well, that must have been a total failure to try and hide it. I mean, what the heck? Also, it's kind of a waste of the pastry. Swallowing it whole in one bite, that's just a waste of a good pastry. You gotta taste it, man. Said Ashley, hoping that her cheeks didn't betray what was inside. Ah, good, you're here, said Maddy. It was a bad sign anytime Maddy expressed pleasure at seeing Ashley. Normally Maddy wavered between being annoyed by Ashley's presence and being indifferently tolerant of her. Anytime Maddy was happy to see Ashley, it meant work. I need you to deliver something to Che for me, said Maddy, turning to the counter to pick up a small bottle of something. As Maddy turned her attention to the bottle, Ashley took advantage of her momentary distraction to gulp down the remainder of the pastry. No time to chew, but a thief wouldn't have done much good with the thick frosting. You're not busy, are you? Said Maddy. Ashley shook her head. No. The pastry was no longer inside her mouth to create a conspicuous bulge of cheeks, but opening her mouth revealed a thick chocolate frosting that was still probably present on her teeth, so she kept her lips sealed. Good, said Maddy. He's upstairs. Get this to him ASAP. She handed the bottle to Ashley, and Ashley found herself surprised by how light the bottle was. Looking down, she could see that the bottle had thin walls. Within those thin walls, it contained some clear liquid, and its seal was held in place with a metal clamp, hermetically sealed. Ashley turned towards the stairs, holding the neck of the bottle in one hand and let out a sigh. One last thing. Ashley swallowed her sigh with a gulp and closed her mouth before facing Maddy, lips tightly shut. Be careful not to drop it, said Maddy. Thousands could die if you spill any of it. In any other situation, Ashley would have asked Maddy a probing question to figure out what was in the bottle, or get some idea of the significance of the task that had been assigned to her. Significant enough that thousands of lives held in the balance, but apparently not important enough for Maddy to do it herself. But Ashley's lips remained sealed, and she merely nodded and turned around. Lamingtons were not meant to be consumed in a single bite, especially by mouths as small as Ashley's, and the thickness of the frosting that lingered in her mouth and throat made her desperate to ask for some kind of drink, but she dared not ask for one. Ashley looked down at the bottle, unsure of the best way to carry it. The bottle was slightly too large for her to hold in just one hand, and grasping it in front of her with two hands felt awkward. The bottle wasn't heavy, but Ashley's confidence in her ability to carry the bottle without dropping it was less than perfect. Should she cradle it under her arm protectively? No, that seemed like it put her at greater risk of fumbling the bottle. The crook of her elbow wasn't as dexterous as her fingertips. She settled for carrying the bottle with one hand placed under the bottom to hold the weight and the other hand wrapped around the neck to steady it. That is a safe way to carry the bottle, I think. Ashley walked slowly with the bottle as she ascended the stairs. Maddy hadn't told her that liquid was volatile and the bottle was hermetically sealed, so there was zero chance of anything spilling out. But that didn't change the sense of trepidation Ashley felt. Armed with the knowledge that there were potentially thousands of lives at stake, she cringed every time she saw the liquid sloshing inside the bottle, leaping up and lapping at the edge of the seal. Ashley realized her arms were shaking and pressed the bottle against her chest, hoping to steady it. As Ashley's hands shook nervously with the bottle held against her chest, she wondered if the large amount of sugar she had just forced down her throat had something to do with the shaking. That fast already? Nah. No way. It was more likely that her shaking was the result of being told that thousands of lives could be lost if she dropped the bottle. Still, the lingering taste of the pastry in her mouth didn't help. Ashley silently lamented the fact that she had been forced to consume the lamingtons so abruptly. Lamingtons were a treat to be savoured, not shoved into one's mouth in a moment of panic. Yes, so true. Well, I don't know about that kind of dessert, but desserts in general deserve freaking being tasted, and not just swallowed down and gulped in one bite. She hadn't even had the chance to properly enjoy it. It was hard to simultaneously feel the pleasure of a tasty treat and panic of being caught. Whatever the outcome of this errand, she had wasted a wonderful pastry. That she had. Several agonizing minutes later, Ashley arrived at the top of the stairs and spotted Chase standing at the handrail. As she walked up, Chase turned to face her and she presented him with the bottle. Ashley cleared her throat of any lingering stickiness before speaking. "Maddy said you needed this."
"Ah, good," said Che. "I was running low."
Ashley gasped with relief as Che took the bottle from her and started taking deep, labored breaths, suddenly becoming aware of how high her heart rate was. Che popped open the seal on the bottle and splashed some of it onto a rag. What? Several drops dripped onto the floor and Ashley let out a terrifying squeak.
Something wrong?"
said Che. Maddy said that thousands of lives could be destroyed by what's in that bottle."
"Well, that's the idea,"
said Che as he folded the rag and ran it along the railing that overlooked the cafe's ground level. Okay. What did we bring him?
"This is supposed to kill 99.9% of all bacteria."
Oh man. Okay.
That still leaves hundreds of bacteria alive, but I try not to think too hard about port.
Ashley's jaw dropped. "It's disinfectant?"
"Yeah,"
said Che. "Why, did Maddy not tell you?" Ashley's shoulders slumped in a mix of relief and exasperation. "She only told me that it could kill thousands."
"And you didn't ask what she meant by that?"
"Oh no, how could she? She had frosting on her teeth probably." She was trying to hide the fact that she had eaten that lamington. "No," said Ashley. I was preoccupied."
"Huh," said Che.
He turned his attention back to the railing, inspecting it for a moment before continuing to wipe it. Ashley turned to head back stairs. "By the way, Ashley," Ashley turned to face Che. He reached out and placed a finger on her shirt, wiping off a bit of frosting. Oh, she was caught. He raised it to his finger and smelled it. "Chocolate," he said. "Yes," said Ashley.
"One of Maddy's lamingtons?"
"Yes," said Ashley. Jay nodded and licked the frosting off his finger.
"Go downstairs and bring one up for me too, will ya?"
She was caught, and Maddy knew as well. So she wanted to teach her a lesson. Don't freaking touch her lamingtons. Oh wait, billiards! Oh man, billiards has been so... Well, no, not really billiards. I'm more of a pool guy, not a billiards guy, but yeah. Still fun. We have a little game here. Brad took a sip from his beer. It was non-alcoholic, but there was something about the dry aftertaste that kept him frosty. He leaned over the table and lined up his next shot. He eyed the problematic 9-ball in the upper right corner. He had a low percentage shot on it if he elected to bank it in, but he had 2 other stripes in the lower left to set it up. If he had an audience, he'd go for the bank shot for sure. He liked the chance to shine. But today there was no one to impress, no audience for flashy low percentage shots. He took the shots on the 11 and 12, and 3 shots later sunk the 9. An easy shot on the 8 sealed the deal. Brad scanned the table. 4 solid balls remained. A dismal performance on his part, or a stellar performance on the part of the strike player. That was the problem with playing against yourself. You always won, but you always lost too. Brad chugged the remainder of his beer and added it to his collection of empties, which now stood 5 bottles strong. He took a moment to survey the room. His table was the only one of the 4 that was in use. That didn't come as any surprise to him. It was early in the evening and he had grown accustomed to spending time alone in this room. He knew when he could come here to be alone, and when the other sharks showed up. Other sharks? Is that like street language for other people? Brad grabbed the triangle. It was looped around his collection of beer bottles to set the balls in order for another round. Someone came up the stairs, and Brad looked up briefly, long enough to see a woman who he recognized as the dour-faced barkeep who had served him the beers that kept him company for the past hour or two. Several steps behind the woman, he saw an older-looking man. The man stopped in front of the table opposite Brad's and began chalking up his cue. Is he gonna join us for a game? Brad directed his attention to the man. He usually offered people a game when they came up, but the man seemed prepared to keep to himself, so Brad said nothing and tried to focus on his own table. He set up to break and the older man coughed as he shot. He hit the cue ball just a fraction of a degree off. It bounced off the rack into one of the side pockets as the rest of the balls jostled around the table. Stink. Brad didn't swear when playing pool. His earliest experiences with competitive billiards had been in an environment that forbade obscenities, and issued foul penalties every time he let out an involuntary shit or fuck. He'd had to find cleaner substitutes. Break, came the sound from the old man's table. 2, 3, 4. Brad put down his break cue and picked up the leather-tipped cue that was leaning against the table. 5, 6. Brad chucked his cue, trying to avoid the tilt from his bad break. 7, 8. He lined up to shoot, and realized that the man was already fishing his balls out of the pockets and collecting them in the triangle. Okay, that's really dubious. Fishing his balls out of the pockets? Are you kidding me? Okay, let's just continue reading here. Brad did a double take. Had the man sung the 8-ball after 8 strokes, including break? Brad continued playing his own table, but kept an eye on the older man this time. It happened again. Break, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. A perfect clean sweep. As the old man began clearing the table, Brad walked over. Oh, we're gonna have some competitive billiards happening here, but in text form or something. Excuse me, he said, but I couldn't help but notice you just hit 2 perfect games. What's that? The man turned to Brad, squinting at him. Brad repeated himself, a bit louder this time. I was just complimenting you on 2 perfect games. Impressive stuff. The man heaved his shoulders. Sometimes you get a bit of luck on your side. Still, said Brad, you don't see novices hitting 2 consecutive perfect games. The man offered another ineffectual shrug. Do you, want to play a game? Brad gestured to his own table, which was already set up. Most of the people who come around here tend to be novices. I've been itching for a bit of competition. Brad paused, but the man said nothing. Of course, if you'd prefer to play your own table, I don't mean to intrude. We can play, said the man. Though if I can shoot perfect a 3rd time, you won't get to. I'd be impressed if you could pull that off, said Brad. The older man racked the balls and stepped away from the table to let Brad break. Brad leaned over the table and took several practice strokes before finally connecting with the cue ball. The break was weaker than he had expected, but he managed to sink 1 ball. He looked at the table, annoyed, and realized that he hadn't bothered to check if the rack was frozen before he broke. His next shot was straight into the middle pocket.
He briefly visualized the trajectory of the cue ball in his mind. It would easily knock the 6 ball in and bounce toward the front of the table. Brad wasn't confident of where exactly the ball would stop, but he was confident he'd be able to do something with it. He took the shot, and the 6 ball went in. Solids! After the cue ball settled, found himself with no good options. Brad smiled. Making something out of nothing was his specialty, and after a few moments of eyeing different angles, he settled on a shot toward one of the bottom pockets. The stride ball was in the way, so Brad hit the cue ball several degrees to the side, carving its trajectory around the enemy ball. It hit the solid 3 ball, and the shot was made. Brad looked at the man, hoping for some kind of reaction. The man's mouth remained a flat line, but his eyebrows arched. If anything, the man's lack of obvious expression struck him as a deliberate attempt to not show response. That he had managed to get a slight rise out of the old man felt like sweet victory. Brad made his next shot quickly. An easy straight-in shot on the 2 ball made without thinking about where the cue ball would land. That was a problem for future Brad. But several seconds later, present Brad found himself scolding past Brad for putting him in such a foul position. He was corner hooked. With the cue ball trapped next to the corner pocket, the only angles available to Brad existed in a 60-degree arc. He surveyed his limited options and breathed a sigh of relief as a relatively straightforward bank shot presented itself. It was an awkward angle, but he knew he could coax the 3 ball into the opposite corner pocket. He took the shot, watching as the 3 ball rolled compliantly into its designated pocket. Unfortunately, the cue ball went with it, ending Brad's turn and placing the ball in the man's possession. Ah, stink! Brad could have sworn the man winked at him as he fished the cue ball out and lined up a simple shot in the side pocket. The 9 went in, and the 11 and the 12. Brad found himself taking it for granted that each strike ball would enter its designated pocket and instead focused on the cue ball. Somehow the cue ball always wound up in a position that presented the oldster with the ideal chip shot. Ball after ball fell off the bed, until finally only the black 8 ball and Brad's solids remained. Fortunately for Brad, the 8th ball and the cue ball were at opposite sides of the table, with several of Brad's in between. The man eventually gave up and settled for a defensive shot that put the cue ball behind the 8th. Now the tables were turned. Brad was the one cut off from his balls. I swear to God, it's really hard to read this with a straight face. He was cut off from his balls. Come on. How am I not supposed to read into this? Anyhow, he lived for shots like this. He took the shot. The cue ball hit the 8 and the 8 hit the 1 and the 1 hit the 7, bouncing it against the front of the table and into one of the side pockets. Brad couldn't help his smile. Things could have gone better even if he'd planned them. Instinct and muscle memory did what his calculating mind couldn't. Now that the table was conveniently free of stride balls, Brad had no trouble sinking the remaining consecutive shots he needed to close out the game. As Brad lined up to find a shot on the 8th ball, he studied the older guy. If the man was reacting, he couldn't tell. Brad closed his eyes as he completed the final stroke, as he always did. He wasn't really religious. He stopped going to church with his mum when he was 12. Well, it's kind of the same age as me. I think 12, maybe 13 was the last time I visited a church. Kinda. But you don't have to visit a church to be religious, you know? Oh well. But it always felt right to leave the result of the game to God. Damn, said the old man as the 8 ball fell into its pocket. Brad flinched. He had been hoping for some praise from the man for winning the game. Perhaps a damn was all that the man was prepared to offer. Excuse me, said Brad, but I don't think we've bothered to exchange names. I'm Brad. Thomas. The old man extended a hand. I've got to say, said Brad, you're quite a player. I take it you're not from around here? No, said the man. I grew up in Brisbane, retired in Sydney. I'm just passing through. Brad nodded. I figured. I actually grew up in this neighborhood. Played on tables just like these when I was a kid, so I know most of the folks on the local competitive circuit. I guess someone like you would have to play competitively, huh? You don't pick up skills like that in a tiny pond. You would be surprised, said Thomas. A man can accomplish quite a bit when given enough idle time.
But, you have played competitively, said Brad.
I used to, yes,
said Thomas.
I actually formally retired many years ago. I kept a table at home for practice, to keep my mind sharp.
Where did you compete?
Oh, I toured in England.
Wait, said Brad. You were a pro?
A pro makes a salary, said Thomas. I won enough to cover my travel expenses, and to make up for the time I spent not working at a real job.
Brad couldn't hide his excitement. Wait, you said England? Did you ever play in the World's Billiards Championship?
Yup,
said the old man.
I played the BBC for a few years, but eventually I decided the title was a summit I'd never reach. So I quit.
Wait, said Brad again. You said your name was Thomas. Are you... Thomas Walsh?
Indeed I am,
said Thomas. You're a legend!
I think you might be overstating it, said Thomas. Even when I was at my prime, I wasn't the best. Results speak for themselves.
I'm also quite wondering, are both of them dead? Is only one of them dead? I'm not sure. Is this a conversation between a dead guy and a live guy or not? I'm hesitant to say that the old man is actually dead because, well, old age. Nah, fuck that, said Brad. You were our finest for 6 years running. Nobody's ever been that consistent. Not even the best pros who managed to run hot burn out after more than 2 or 3 years. Thomas sipped his beer. I spent hundreds of hours watching your videos, said Brad.
I didn't realize there were videos of me, said Thomas.
I have tapes of the finals from 1967 and 1968, said Brad. I didn't record them before that, but your last 2 years got recorded for posterity. They're kind of rarities at this point, but I had a coach who had a vault of old footage.
Coach?
Thomas arched an eyebrow. Yeah, said Brad. You didn't have a coach? Thomas shook his head.
We mostly just taught ourselves and each other. Sometimes you got to practice with people better than you, but that was it.
Well, I mostly taught myself, said Brad. But after I started winning some regionals, I joined a team so that I could get sponsored and have a group to train with.
Interesting.
Brad waited for Thomas to question further, but no question came. So he decided to continue without an invitation. I won the WBC in 2012.
No luck since then, I take it,
said Thomas. Brad stammered out. Well, yeah. He laughed awkward. I've never been a consistent player. Not like you anyway. He offered a sheepish grin. My mom had an album full of article clippings talking about me like I was some kind of prodigy, the next big thing. It feels like I'll forever be a footnote in history. Brad waited for the words of affirmation to come from his hero. Thomas just took another drink from his glass, finishing it off before setting it down next to Brad's empty bottles. Said Brad, feeling foolish. Can I get your drink in exchange for another game? It would be a real pleasure.
Sure,
said Thomas.
Get me a Guinness. Actually, make it 2.
Brad sprinted down the stairs and returned several minutes later with a tray bearing 2 pints of Guinness. Basically, this is really just a slice of life, isn't it? But it is well written. Thomas began setting up the table for the next game, Brad hovering over him. You know, said Brad, this place is pretty magical. Getting to play a game of pool like this? He wasn't quite sure how to say it, but figured Thomas knew what he was getting at. I mean, this is the sort of place where anything can happen. You know what I'm saying?
Not anything, said Thomas. There are limits.
Well, yeah, said Brad. But still, 2 former champs, one coming back from, well, from beyond the grave, so to speak. And it's not the kind of encounter you'd expect to have anywhere else. Ah, so that kind of answers our question. And I guess it is that Thomas dude that's dead. Also, didn't he just break the rule? What I don't remember the rules order, but it was one of the rules, right? And I don't think Thomas has proclaimed that he wanted to talk about it. Oh well. Thomas looked at him.
Magical indeed. When I walked up here, I didn't realize that you were... well...
He rubbed his chin.
Let's just say that I don't meet a lot of pool pros at bars.
He took a sip of his beer.
You want to break?
Sure. Brad broke, and with hands guided by instinct, managed to sink 5 balls consecutively. Like magic, his shots always connected. Some people might buckle under pressure, but Brad's performance always seemed to rise to the occasion. With just 2 straight balls left, Brad knew he was on a streak, but as he lined up his next shot, he took a moment to consider the position of the 8 ball. It was nestled in an awkward position behind Thomas's balls, but if he could clear a path to it while sinking the last stripe. Also, I kinda wanna point out Thomas's balls. It is pretty weird to talk about pool, isn't it? Or billiards, or talk about balls in general. Brad looked at the sea of balls. I can't stay serious, man. Each time I read balls, I'm just like, come on. And knew there was no way for him to mentally calculate every vector. But instinct had got him this far, and he wasn't about to stop listening to it now. Brad took the shot, and the cue ball knocked the last striped ball into the corner pocket. And the cue ball bounced off the table back towards Thomas's cluster of balls. Brad grinned in elation as the cue ball hit a solid, which hit another and another in a chain reaction that sent the 8 ball heading right towards the corner, just like he'd wanted. It was headed right toward the corner where there were no balls to intercept it. It was headed right toward the corner, into the pocket. He stopped grinning. Brad knew, with a growing dread, that the friction of the cloth wouldn't be enough to stop the ball in time. Oh, that's gonna be a walk of shame. He watched the impending disaster happen in slow motion, powerless to stop it. The game had been going so well. He had been about to hit a perfect game in front of his childhood hero, and now he was going to lose it in the most inglorious way imaginable. An accidental, illegal combination shot. Ouch. Brad closed his eyes, but not even God could help him now. He didn't need to see it. The sound of the ball plunking into the pocket was enough. Oh my god, that is such a nice word, plunking. That's such a freaking nice word, plunking. He'd lost the game. Ah, shucks. Because we can't swear, because remember, game's rules. And that was the end of that memory. Was it a good one? I'm not sure. It was something. Oh, Fisherman. Wait, second? Oh, right, there was another one last time, wasn't there? I can't go through those doors. There's a lot of books here, though. Anyway, let's start Fisherman number 2. The expression on Jax's face was expectant when Maddy came out of the kitchen carrying his plate. Expectant, but not impatient. The expression fit his posture, sitting upright with hands folded and resting in front of him. Your halibut is ready. Jax's eyebrows raised when Maddy set the plate down in front of him. He closed his eyes and lowered his chin just a tad, allowing the scent of grilled fish to waft into his nostrils as he drank in the odor. As several moments passed, a smile curled onto his face, and he grabbed a fork and began cutting the halibut up. He was several mouthfuls in when Maddy spoke up. I thought you said you were going to eat it, she said. Oh, right. Yeah. You were supposed to give it to him and he was just going to sit there. But now he's eating it?
Couldn't help myself,
said Jack.
Smelled too good to not give it a taste, and tasted too good to stop.
I couldn't help but notice the hesitation, said Maddy. Jack held up the fork, which had a piece of the fish beard on it.
You know a fish like this. You never know what kind of memories it's going to bring up. Not all memories are good. This fish, it tastes like adventure, conquest.
You fish much?
You could say that,
said Jack with a grin.
I make it out. Made it out on the water several days each year.
Catch any big ones?
Lots, I'm sure, said Jack. But I'm more of a quantity over size kind of person. The most important weight is your tally at the end of the day. I'm not the patient kind of fisherman.
Where'd you learn to be so patient if not from fishing?
Fishing's the only time I'm not a patient man, said Jack.
Funny, said Maddy. I tend to hear the opposite from a lot of people,
I take really long vacations,
said Jack. That's when you fish?
That's when I don't fish,
said Jack. Ah, you're a fish tradesman.
Better known as a fisherman,
said Jack.
But yeah.
You could have let with that, you know, said Maddy.
Didn't I?
Said Jack.
Well, like I said, I don't get out on the water very often.
And yet it's your profession, said Maddy. I think that would mean more days on the water.
Such is life in Alaska,
he said.
Fishing season gets shorter every year.
Ah, of course, said Maddy. Halibut are seasonal. You can't really catch them when they migrate, is that it? It's the kind of business that only open a few days out of the year, thanks to Mother Nature.
Thanks to the government,
said Jack.
In 1970, halibut season was 150 days long, and it got shortened to 100 days.
You only work 100 days out of the year?
No, ma'am,
said Jack.
100-day halibut season was before my time. By the time I found myself on that side of the Pacific, it was down to fishing derbies. Actually, that's what got me out there.
Derbies?
All the fish you can catch for 24 hours. They're spaced out. Fishing season is just a few days a year now.
Can you make a living doing that?
You can catch a lot of fish in one day, said Jack. That's why they had to shorten the season. It didn't take very many skips on the water before you have a problem with overfishing. I was sold on the promise of working for several days out of the year and being able to come back home and live the good life the 360 days out of the year. That I didn't have to work.
He grinned in a way that suggested he wanted Maddy to prompt further. Did Alaska deliver on that promise? Said Maddy. Asked Maddy, to be honest. Okay, I'll just glance over that. Is America truly land where the streets are paved with gold?
The streets aren't paved with gold, even though I'm told there's black gold to be found in Alaska. But yes, Alaska did deliver what was promised. I worked several derbies a year and I made enough to live pretty well. I just skipped the part where I was supposed to come back home.
What's the matter? Said Maddy. Do you want to sail back to Australia? Afraid of getting seasick?
No, ma'am,
said Jack, apparently missing a joke. He died. He died while fishing, didn't he? You met someone who convinced you to stay?
A few someones,
said Jack.
You spent some time working a skip for someone. That's the kind of bond you don't find easily. And it's not the kind of thing you give up easily.
That kind of bond, working only a few days out of the year? Said Maddy.
It's intense, said Jack. It's like being in the line of duty. It's a little like going to war.
War against the fishes.
War against the sea,
said Jack.
When it's all you can catch for 24 hours, you don't have time to be safe. When the day arrives, you're out on the water, no matter the weather. And those skiffs aren't whole large boats. For every 1,000 fishermen that go up, 997 come back. Firefighters have better odds than that. Soldiers have better odds than that. So yes, it's a bit like going to war.
He looked down at the fish in front of him for a moment.
There were some times I could swear I could smell death on the water. And every time you pulled up to shore with a boat full of fish and the same number of men you left with, it was a giant middle finger to Dash's face.
He broke into a grin.
In those moments, you never feel more at home. When you have that kind of experience with someone, you don't fuck off to spend a year in Australia, you know?
He tapped his chest.
I'm one of them now.
Jack looked around, and Maddy realized it was the first moment he'd seen Jack really take notice of the space he was in. His eyes squinted as they scanned the shelves behind her, and the people at the tables around him.
But I ended up here. I think I always knew I would be here, sooner or later.
I guess he did die on the seas. And that's the end of it. Well, I think I've found every other piece of memory. I can go downstairs. I've already checked that one. Yes, I can. Anything else down here? Enter doodle mode? Hold on a moment. Hold on a moment. Oh, wait, no, it continues. Ashley's journal. Wait, we already checked that one. Are they still here? Oh, they're still here.
Meaning I just did everything. Yeah, I did everything. And this is to continue. Wait, I want to check out doodle mode. What is doodle mode? What is this? Enter doodle mode. Hello? Yes? What do you do? In doodle mode, you can draw a face for each ashling. Whenever an ashling appears throughout the game, you'll be able to see your artistic masterpiece. Oh! I get to give them a face? Okay, Lovelace. Oh my god. Okay. Reset drawing. And that's one done. Hey, there we go. Look at him. I'm going to do all of them. All right, and here we go. These are my lovely faces that I drew on them. Lovelace, Kepler, and Jacoby. I had to put some time in it, and it was. I think it was kind of worth it. They better have them, mate. They better have them faces on. People watching the rest of the game are probably gonna wonder what the fuck is up with those faces suddenly popping up on them. Well, you guys know, the others don't. Okay. I wanna go and check it out. Come on. There should be faces on them now. What? Oi! If those faces are gone, I'm going to be so disappointed. Anyhow, I think it is time for us to continue. And we'll continue this in the next episode of Necrobarista, which will be part 3. I'll see you over there. Ciao!